muse of poets, the inspiration of philosophers.
Or, as I think of it, a fruit-based alcoholic beverage.
It isn't.
Just tell the viewers what we're up to.
We're in California on a mission to turn wine buffoon James May into a new world wine connoisseur. By sampling the nicest
That is the best glass of wine I've ever had.
and nastiest
That is unspeakably disgusting.
Californian wines on offer.
4 days ago, I set out with wine god Oz Clarke in a camper van. So far, we've been to Santa Barbara, where I discovered that, unlike the over-intellectual French with their silly appellations and communist tendencies, here you can grow what you want, where you want, and tell it like it is on the label.
And now we're going to find out just how liberated the Californian winemakers are as we head north to meet the hedonists of Paso Robles.
On Oz and James's big wine holiday,
Adventure.
the New World.
For the second stage of our journey, we're heading to Paso Robles, the brashest, most up-and-coming wine region in California. The winemakers here are bending all the old world rules. They're taking France's Rhone Valley grapes, Syrah, Grenache, Roussanne, or even taking Rhone Valley and Bordeaux grape varieties and blending them together. Now that is a uniquely new world idea.
My quest, as ever, will be to find a drinkable California wine that we can buy at home for under a tenner.
Let's talk about that later.
Who hasn't put the crockery away properly? You're a right racket.
If you want proof this place is the hot ticket, even the French are moving here. We're en route to meet Stéphane Asseo, a winemaker of 17 years' experience in Bordeaux, who's decided to bring some French savoir-faire to the Paso Robles Resistance.
He is a Frenchman who got tired of being French,
Yep.
essentially.
So
and
he's
he came
come over
over
here
to be Californian.
to become Californian. And how successful he is, we'll soon find out.
Already I smell a rat. The idea of coming to California was to get away from the baffling French and their talk of terroir.
On our first wine adventure in France last year, terroir was James's biggest bugbear.
It's a French word with no actual English equivalent, so it doesn't appear, presumably, in the little pocket gem French-English dictionary. But it probably should. I could write the entry for them. It will say French terroir, English cobblers.
This French term is used to cover all the effects that Mother Nature has on the taste of a wine, but the whole concept was simply too much for James. Okay, James, remember, it's French. Be polite, right?
Yes, yes.
Hey, hello. A decade ago, Stéphane had had enough of making Bordeaux, stifled by rules and regulations, and moved to Paso Robles to be part of the Rhone Revolution.
Hold on a minute. Oz Clarke, a Frenchman, a vineyard. Haven't I already made this programme?
And the only way to have a chance to make good wine is to have a nice vineyard and also a nice soil, what we call in France a nice terroir, which is the combination.
I knew it.
between
It's all a
the
plot.
climate,
Oz Clarke has dragged me to the other side of the world to meet another of his posh French mates.
Exactly.
But here's the incredible thing. After a decade in California, Stéphane has lost virtually all of his Frenchness.
I escaped from that to be free and to have a huge field of experimentation, no regulation. Honestly, all my focus is to make the wine a wine from Paso Robles.
So what exactly is a blended Californian wine made by a Frenchman like?
So now we test red, Optimus.
You've mixed Syrah, the Rhone grape, with Cabernet and Petit Verdot, the two really dark Bordeaux grapes. You would have been sent to prison if you'd done that in your vineyards in Bordeaux.
Yeah, definitely.
Have a small mouthful, as if I needed to encourage you.
Right, I'm going to take this opportunity to embarrass Oz. When you fry onions, and a few little bits are left behind in the pan and go completely black, and then afterwards when you finish eating, you look at them and you think, oh, that looks interesting, you get it out with a fork and put it in your mouth. That's what it is. Sort of caramelised, toffee-like flavour.
Yeah.
It's not as big and chocolatey as the other red wines we've had. It is, I hate having to say this, but it is more French, isn't it? And it's more clever. Really.
I am the father. Huh?
You can take the Frenchman out of France, but you can't take France out of the Frenchman.
This is a £40 bottle of wine,
Yeah.
at least, really, if it ever got to
It will
England.
be 50 or 60 in England.
Right, so once again, you've upheld the spirit of my quest here by bringing me to a place that produces a hideously expensive and inaccessible wine, nice though it is. We're still drinking very expensive wines. We haven't got a wine that represents America, a wine that is industrialized, very good value for money, and yet maybe not brilliant, but very drinkable. That's what I'm looking for. That's why I came here.
The reason Stefan came here is because New World winemakers have the freedom to make any kind of wine they choose, and there's an event up the road where James has got the chance to sample them all. The Paso Robles Cook-Off is an annual cookery competition between local wine producers. This is a fantastic chance for us to actually go and taste the wines from the west, the wooded canyons in the west, taste the wines from the prairies in the east, really get a feeling as to what Paso Robles is all about.
It looks like a piss up in a field to me. Is that what it is, essentially?
Well, it could be. What it really is showing that when you get into these small wine communities in places like California, everyone actually mucks in together. This event even attracts the godfather of Paso Robles, Gary Eberly, someone James has to get to know.
We call this Dos Aviators. Randy and I are both pilots.
So am I.
Oh, okay. He flies a Commander, I've got a 340.
That's quite posh. I've got a Luscombe.
While Chuck and Biggles impress each other with their knowledge of light aircraft, I'm going to do what I set out to. I want to taste all of these fast and furious.
Meanwhile, I sense that there's plenty of wine in the weeks ahead, so I stock up on American classics, beer, burgers, and frozen margaritas. That's very nice as well. Yeah. And this is tasty. This is tasty. No, I am doing immensely.
After an hour or so of enthusiastic tasting, I've completely lost track of James. Well, there's nice blonde girls around offering him beer with lime in it, so he's happy. People are offering him hamburgers, so he's whopping them down his throat. I think he's having a lovely time, got nothing to do with wine.
In actual fact, I am sipping wine with Big Gary Eberly. Impressed with my aeronautical knowledge, he invites us back to his estate to have a go on his boat.
Gary Eberly is a real pioneer. Back in the 1970s, he took the gamble of planting grape varieties from the Rhone Valley in France, and it paid off.
I brought Syrah to California. I mean, I planted the first Syrah vines post-Prohibition. For years, I was the only source of Syrah in the United States. There was nothing in Paso Robles. I don't want to say I created it, but I created it.
Your humility delights us, Gary.
And I'm really cute, too.
After carefully sampling all of Big Gary's vintage Syrahs, I'm ready to make the first of my well-researched observations regarding New World wine versus the French stuff. So far, I think overall, the Californian wines are more enjoyable, more often, and they're more consistent. There was a lot of stuff I drank in France that was what should be illegal, to be honest. They should go to the guillotine for making that stuff. Whereas here, I haven't had anything bad. I've had a few things that I'm not particularly mad about, but I haven't had anything that's made me think, good God, how can these bloody peasants drink that stuff and still have colons? The next morning, I'm feeling a little fragile. Even the wine god is struggling.
It's absolutely typical. All I wanted was some porridge. I mean, just porridge, great big box of porridge oats. But oh no, in America you have to actually have everything in a sachet. I don't like being told exactly how much porridge I can have. I want to make it myself. One morning I might want more, I might want less. Ow.
That's hot water in the kettle. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
I've decided it's time for a break from wine. I'm on a personal pilgrimage, and as I'm driving, Oz is coming whether he likes it or not. We're going to investigate another Californian product, Hollywood superstars who die young. On September the 30th, 1955, James Dean died on this road when his Porsche Speedster hit a slow-moving station wagon. And that is a motoring fact. Did you know that James Dean only bought that Porsche because he was bored of waiting for a Lotus that he'd ordered?
God, Porsche as a stopgap.
Well,
Porsche's my dream car.
he was a film star. Well, you had one until your wife sold it for you.
James, and stop and stop, bang, and stop.
This memorial was erected by a wealthy fan, and for some reason it reads like the back label of a bad bottle of wine.
An individual struggling in this huge land of infinite promise and many races. Now that would be the Shiraz.
We're on a break from wine, Oz. This is a motoring moment. I know what this is. This is a translation from the Japanese, isn't it? It's like, it reads like the instruction leaflets of an early Kawasaki.
Well, this is a Japanese memorial, and the Japanese bloke put it up.
That's it.
He was a rebel without a cause, James.
He was a rebel without an airbag, unfortunately. Well, let's go and have a memorial hot dog.
Right, back to wine. We're in search of a California guru, someone I'm hoping can get James over his fear of terroir. I hope that what he will show you is that he's got various different soils. And I know that you get all uppity about the French terroir and, oh, it is all in the soil and all this kind of stuff. But give him a chance, okay, to see if he can persuade you that the different soils on his property create completely different flavors in the wine.
Oh, a dog.
Here's a dog, James.
Hello, mate.
We're actually here to meet a man, James, a revered Rhone Valley grape expert, John Alban.
Glad you're here. This must be James.
You're John.
Welcome.
Hello, John. Sorry, I was delayed by your dog.
Yes, they have that effect on folks. Well, I think we should start in the vineyard because, as Oz knows, we make wine out of grapes and they come out of the vineyard originally.
You know Oz from before. Oz has obviously told John I'm a complete numpty. I need to wow him over with some wine facts.
What grapes are those?
This is Syrah.
So that's Syrah, so that's a Rhone Valley grape, isn't it?
That's right. Very good. You do know something.
Great.
We grow 2 whites. Can you name 2 white Rhones?
Yes, I can.
That's fantastic.
No, I can't actually.
And that's what you get trying to show off, fathead.
John takes me back to basics with an explanation as to why the Californian climate is so suited to winemaking.
But if this is April here, and this is October here, is that in Europe, the climate ascends and descends roughly like that. In California, the climate tends to run more like that. And so you have a period much hotter in Europe, but far more significantly, you have this area. And this area in California means that we can keep ripening and ripening and ripening without any fear of frost, and in most areas, almost no fear of precipitation. It won't rain. This is the key part.
And that is a wine fact.
If James can grasp that simple sketch, maybe John can get him to accept the French terroir concept he so hates.
What I wanted to show you is if you look under these rows, you'll see that this soil is full of rather large cobble-sized rocks. And these cobbles are very important because they're not just on the surface, they run throughout the soil profile, which means a couple of things. When the sun arrives in the spring and the soil starts to warm up, well, this rock warms up pretty darn fast in the sunlight. The roots detect the heat, and the roots tell the vine, wake up, it's spring. But we're going to walk down about 15 rows. These cobbles disappear, and because of that, that soil heats up much slower.
Maybe I need a drink. This bloke is talking about the significance of stones, and I'm finding him interesting.
Let's walk down here, because we don't have to go very far.
Well, obviously not, because you're an American. You'd have driven if it was more than 20
And
yards.
since I'm in California,
Just a stone's throw away, there is a very different structure to the soil.
whatever cobbles were there are fractured and broken down into rocks, and because of it, more soil can accumulate, and these vines are picked 3 or 4 weeks later.
Does that mean you're becoming a bit like the French now? Are you going to use the word terroir at any second?
At this point, do you believe it could make a difference in the quality of the wine where you grow the grapes?
Oddly enough, listening to you talk about it, I believe entirely that it does, because you've been quite scientific and sort of post-enlightenment about it. But when you speak to the French, they run around in smocks saying, my grandfather died here and the local peasants are all fat, and it makes a difference, but it clearly doesn't. You know,
But I think you've already pointed out that you do believe that the soil the vine is grown in can make a difference. The climate that the vine is grown in can make a difference. Come up with a new term, and I will embrace it. What should we call it?
Fluff.
Fluff. Very good.
At last, someone has got James to accept the concept of terroir.
And now, as I said, I need a drink.
Well, you're going to get two.
Smells very good.
You've got to taste the difference between the wines made from the vines in that ultra-rocky and in the mildly rocky vineyard. These wines come from the same year, they're made in the same way. The only difference is the stony soil.
Right, I'm going to go for the big boulders first. God, that's good.
You need no more description than that. That's adequate for me. Right?
You've now got small gravel.
Right.
But this smells warmer, more chocolatey, and hotter, actually. Wow. That's the best glass of wine I've ever had. By
you say that a little
miles.
louder? I don't know.
Seriously, that is just remarkable. Have you tried this? Actually, no, get your own. It's really fantastic. So you're going to ask me to describe the differences. This is smoother. And the difference isn't that subtle, actually. And it is the same sort of taste, but this one is more chocolatey. It's easier to drink, and it's more liberal. No, really, that is the best glass of wine I've ever had. How much is it a bottle, roughly?
That's about $80. So
Is
what
it?
is that in your system?
So, to us, by the time it gets to us, probably 50 quid.
60 probably.
60 quid, that's quite expensive. I'm sorry about that. I was hoping I was going to be able to say, and it's only £8. But it's not, it's at least 60.
It's rather more. Well, what do you know? James May, the people's champion of affordable wine, is now panting to pay 60 quid for a single bottle.
I leave John's vineyard happy that I'm not the wine dunce he thought I was, but worried that I might be on the way to becoming a wine ponce, and annoyed that Oz's stupid schedule means we're back on the road.
As I predicted, that man produces an extremely good wine. And because you've arranged for me to have to drive some of this afternoon, I enjoyed a small taste of it, which I then had to spit out. So as usual, you've arranged for me to go and see one of your posh mates on the pretense of educating me about wine, and really you're using me as a chauffeur. Deny it.
Guilty as charged. After that lesson in quantum wine theory, we need to get back into the spirit of the region. So we're off to see one of the new generation of Rhone Rangers. 10 miles inland and 1,300 feet up, the Saxon vineyard is run by a genuine, rootin'-tootin', gun-totin' grape grower.
Justin Smith is my kind of winemaker. He's under 50, he wears sunglasses and a pork pie hat, and looks a bit like Pete Doherty, but does something useful. The shotgun is because it's Starling season, and even rebel winemakers have to protect their precious Syrah grapes.
Do I look like the beginning of Dad's army?
And we're just scaring the birds, not shooting them. And this clip is just the editor being funny, because that's not a starling, it's an eagle.
No, James, it's a turkey buzzard. Dear, oh dear. Now, I want to try these wines to make sure he's not all style and no content.
So this is a Rhone blend. Fairly equal parts Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre.
I'm getting a real perfume off it, almost sort of rose petally perfume, but rich strawberry, raspberry fruit as well.
That's rather good, actually. It's very good.
Thank you very much.
A reveille maybe, but Justin makes seriously good wine. In fact, Saxon wines are a hit with the critics and are pretty popular in shishi Hollywood hangouts.
How much is this? £80? Can I have a bit more?
We'll try this one.
What's this got in it?
It's mainly Syrah. That's the planting out there.
It's a sort of more funky, slightly more sort of meaty kind of nose.
See, I think it's got Brazil nut shells in it. I also think it has laminated photo quality inkjet paper.
Is there a mood here in Paso Robles of sort of a maverick, slightly rebellious mood against the mainstream of California wine?
What's fun about Paso Robles right now is that we are kind of doing our own thing and finding our own way. It's not like we're following a tradition that's been set or anything. It's like we're seeing what works here. It's all brand new, and so we figure, hey, might as well have some fun doing it.
There is building up a sense of rebelliousness, maverick nature against the mainstream four-lane highway of sort of Merlot and Cabernet and Chardonnay and all this kind of stuff. And it's just the right kind of place to do it. Paso Robles was famous as a place where outlaws and desperados could go and get lost, and the law enforcement officers would never find them.
Embracing the rebel spirit, I decide to exact revenge for Oz turning me into a chauffeur. Back at Gary Eberle's lake, I put the wine god to the test with an innovative challenge.
Come on then, mate, do your worst.
What he has to do is dive in, swim out of it, and I'm going to send him 4 different grape varieties in these pool-friendly Perspex glasses which float. He has to identify them, and until he's got them all right, he can't come out again. It's that simple. Right, you ready?
Yep.
Go. There you go, there is Oz Clarke in the water.
This lake is 16 feet deep and full of piranhas and sharks. Actually, it's just deep. So to make things more difficult, and as we've been focusing on Rhone Valley grapes, I'm going to slip in a couple of wild cards.
Chardonnay. Are you ready?
The Chardonnay grape is actually from Burgundy.
Oh, it smells good. It smells like Roussanne or something.
To be quite honest, I'm amazed he's going along with this.
I'll have to make a decision fairly quickly, or I'll drown.
In fact, I'm starting to think this isn't a test of his grape knowledge at all, but actually a test of what Oz Clarke will go through to drink wine.
Well, I think it's Chardonnay.
Well done. It is indeed a Chardonnay.
Next up is a Rhone Valley variety, Viognier.
I'd say Viognier. Get on with it.
Number 3 is a Zinfandel. I don't want it to get too much.
James! I don't know. Is it not Petit Shiraz? I don't know.
No, sir, it isn't.
Oh, it's Zinfandel. It's Zinfandel.
Yes, it is.
It's Zinfandel.
Wine number 4, to be brutally honest, I've never heard of. It's Barbara.
I don't know.
Well, come on, use your extensive
No,
wine
I'm just
knowledge.
too tired to care.
Look, I'll give you a clue. This northern Italian varietal.
Oh, God. Italy. Barbera or something.
What?
Barbera.
You're right. Right, just gather up your glasses, then you can come out.
Do not underestimate the lure of a good glass of wine on TV's Oz Clarke. I'm amazed at what it got him to do next. We've hooked up with a horde of vintners, and if that sounds like a gang, well, that's pretty much what it is.
This bunch of bikers are the ultimate rebel winemakers, and we're on the road to their 4 Vines estate on the outskirts of Paso Robles.
Obviously, I can't let a bike gang see me driving Liberace's motorhome, so I've hired this Harley, a proper American hog. And in case you hadn't guessed, Oz Clarke has never been on a motorcycle.
Well, you're going too fast. Don't overtake this. Wait. I'm just trying to see where we're going. If I sit like that on an engine, all I get is this great big black blob of your head. But I can't. All I'm trying to make sure is that two sets of eyes are better than one. I knew James would jump at the chance of getting a bike, so I thought I'd turn his enthusiasm to my advantage. The things I do to get this boy interested in wine.
No way. Oz Clarke. I thought you were dead.
This cheeky so-and-so is Christian Teacher, a self-styled punk winemaker whose goal is to blow the cobwebs off stuffy wine culture. I steeled myself for a wine tasting on the wild side.
You guys want to go inside getting some barrels?
Yeah.
Blonde bombshells, tattooed bikers, this is a far cry from the kind of poncy places he normally takes me.
The wines here have names like Anarchy, The Heretic and Loco. Christian is clearly not shy of flouting convention. We start off with his Naked Chardonnay.
So this is Santa Barbara fruit, really cool climate, white chalky soils, very similar to Chablis, and no oak. And because there's no oak, we called it Naked.
Unbelievably, this Chardonnay is within my budget, a mere $14 a bottle. I like these blokes, guys.
You gotta get tattooed and take a sip of Naked at the same time.
Absolutely.
Let me let you try a hellacious pour of wine. How's that?
Don't try and silver tongue me, you bald-headed turd.
We're going for a more bedroom now. Right back.
I suspected this biker tasting would be carnage, but I'm going to endure it for the good of James's wine education.
I like the pace of your wine tasting here, because it's sort of hell, drink this, hell, drink that, yeah.
Wait, no, get that thing off me now.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome.
I have completely lost touch of what I'm tasting. What have I got? What is that? What is that? I don't know.
My head is like a Ramones gig, but in the midst of it, everything I've experienced in Paso Robles is beginning to crystallise. Now John, the wine guru, has convinced me about the concept of terroir, there's a logic to Stefan, the lunatic Frenchman, moving here. I've become pals with the Godfather, had a shootout with the next generation, and now, amazingly, I'm in a winery where I feel more at home than Oz. As he loses his grip, I feel I should take the lead.
You need to know what it's all about. This is punk rock in a bottle. This is anarchy.
And bring things down to earth with a pompous tasting note.
It's got a more bed core.
Shut up! This is a wine moment. I'm tasting anarchy. After the events of the day, the taste of anarchy is surprisingly familiar. Did you notice when we were riding along on the Harley-Davidson Heritage Softail, you could smell the scenery, you could smell the vines, you could smell the earth, you could smell the hot tarmac, you could also smell the engine of the bike, you can smell the way the sunshine is burning your arms. That makes a smell. It's like a cordite smell. All those things come to you when you're on the motorcycle. All of that, I think, is in here. This has a very... I'm riding on a motorcycle through California, out in the hills. It's a very hot day, and it's all been captured in a wine. It's anarchy, it's Hell's Angels, it's punk. This is a wine that will change the world. You're always going on about wine having a sense of place. This has a sense of place, and it has a sense of purpose as well.
And you know what?
It's revolutionary.
That is wine tasting. I knew that amidst the bikers and the birds, James would forget about wine being stuffy, and he did. He delivered a description worthy of the winiest wine buff, and one that totally encapsulates the spirit of Paso Robles. I think this is maverick heaven down here. Wild people making wines that could never be made in that sort of straight-laced world of I want to be Burgundy or I want to be Bordeaux. That's not their world. What they seem to be saying is we'll actually make our own role models, and our own role models, the role models we make will be us. On the next part of our adventure, we'll be hitting the dusty plains of Monterey in search of decent, affordable Chardonnay.
So grab yourself a glass and watch as I choose wine the American way.
We go to the world's biggest vineyard.
To use the English expression, this is chuffing massive.
And we flex some American muscle.
If you like the look of the wines from Paso Robles, read our suggestions about what foods go best with them at bbc.co.uk/food.
From New York to Knightsbridge, Heston Blumenthal goes in search of the perfect hamburger next here on BBC Two, and you won't believe how he makes the cheese slices. The new series continues in a moment.